Hi, this is Linda Shea with Drilling Contractor. I'm at the 2024 IADC Drilling Middle East Conference in Muscat, Oman. I have with me Mr. Neil Orvay, who spoke at the conference about using persuasion psychology to help support rig safety. Neil, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Linda.
So one of the things you talked about was the principle of contrast. Can you explain what that is and give us a brief example?
Sure. So contrast exists anytime two things are presented sequentially. So for example, if you go into a restaurant and you ask for some recommendations for, let's say, a bottle of wine, if the waiter first shows you a slightly more expensive one and then recommends something that's also very good quality but slightly cheaper, that cheaper one looks better because you're contrasting it with the first one. If, however, they'd started with the cheaper one, you wouldn't have any point of contrast, so it might actually seem expensive.
And then you also talked about the 6 principles of persuasion. What are those and how are they relevant for us?
So the 6 principles of persuasion are based on the research of Dr. Robert Cialdini. Cialdini spent most of his career studying why people say yes or no, and he uncovered these 6 principles, which are reciprocation, consistency, consensus, liking, authority, and scarcity. Now these are relevant because they exist in every single culture, in every single industry. It doesn't matter what your job role or your title, it doesn't matter what language you speak, these principles exist across cultures and across sectors. So they're influencing the decisions that we are making on a day-to-day basis. So even if you don't want to learn those principles, they're being used on you. So it's worth learning what they are so that you can work out whether the decisions you're making are in your best interests.
Very interesting. So how can better understanding persuasion psychology help us specifically with rig safety? How can it be applied?
So one of the very common scenarios on a rig is where, for example, a relatively junior health and safety coordinator, maybe 3-5 years experience, is trying to influence the behaviors of very senior rig personnel, people who have maybe been 20-30 years on a rig without incident. So the attitude is, what can you teach me? I've been here 20 or 30 years, I've never had an accident. I don't need somebody with 3 or 5 years experience trying to tell me what to do. But of course, in those 20 years, the technology has changed, the protocols have changed, the personnel have changed, so there's always a risk there. Having the ability to what we call influence without authority is very, very helpful, and these 6 principles are really useful in giving not just junior staff, but everybody that extra ability to influence others.
What an interesting topic. Thank you, Neil, for sharing these insights with us. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us on drillingcontractor.org.